I didn't discover this until later. I'd said several years ago, I was on Google looking at the history of Kenya. Then I see a man that's incarcerated. I see a photo of a man incarcerated in a colonial jail sitting down. But the man looks like my grandfather. And I sent the picture. It was online. I sent my mom. I said, Mom, is this your dad? She said, yeah, that's my dad.
It was.
And I started doing more research. I said, if I can't run on exactly what the issues are, I'm not interested in running. I'm not here to make a political career. I am here to actually see a change takes place because I'm being affected. And it's not just me, my neighbors are being affected. That's why I ran for District 2C.
The younger generation, what advice would you give to those people?
I would say
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Black Experience. Today, y'all, we are coming at you with another banger of an episode. Today, we have someone who is running for King County Council District 2. She's a passionate advocate. She's a proud graduate of Seattle University, as well as a proud Kenyan. So without further ado, y'all, let's put our hands together and let's bring up Miss Miriam Mboya.
thank you.
How you doing?
I am doing great. It's a great morning.
Yes, round of applause.
Thank you.
Did I say your last name correctly?
Yes.
Okay.
Totally good. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was looking at it and I was like, I believe it's Mboya, but it could be a different pronunciation.
Mboya is perfect.
You know,
Yeah.
African names, they tend to have different pronunciations.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How's your morning been so far?
My morning has been good. Of course, always busy during the campaign season. But it's a good morning. I can't complain.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was telling you this beforehand, but you're really, I believe, the second person really who has either run for office or run for some kind of political office that I've had on the show. Only because I've stayed away from that side of it, but now I think it's so important because we live in a time where it's just part of our lives.
Right.
You can't really ignore it necessarily. You got to have these conversations. So
Absolutely. I think we've lost the luxury of choosing whether to have those discussions or not. Because when you go to a grocery store and you look at the amount of things or items you're buying for $200 or $100, it's like, oh my goodness, what's happening? When you look at the gas prices, when you're traveling internationally, right? Politics, everything is on your face. And I believe every American now is feeling the impact of politics one way or another.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Miriam, to start out, I said a lot in the intro, but if you want to just introduce yourself in your own words, who is Miriam Mboya?
So Miriam Mboya, I say one is a passionate activist. I am a firm believer. When you live in society, you really want to make sure you're part of decision makings that do happen at government level. Because for me, working in government for the last 7 years, being a political scientist by training, I see how every day is so much interconnected in politics, in government. And so as an activist over the last 10 plus years, it's been a privilege to be able to voice when things are not working as they should. I'll give you an example, and I think a lot of people remember the Black Lives Matter moment we had in 2020, right? And making sure that our police officers, our leaders, are concerned about residents and how policing is done. Is it done being centered, community being at the center, or is it just policing for the sake of policing? Yeah.
Yeah. I think 2020 was such a transformative year for a lot of people, including myself.
Absolutely.
I'm assuming it was a transformative year for you too?
It was, because it's the first time I would say where systemic failures were more on the upfront, right? Now people understood it's the systems that usually control a lot of these things.
Right.
So how do we fix the system and not just fixing the failures that we see as a result of what's happening within the systems? Yeah.
Absolutely. Your story really begins way before this campaign that you're running for King County. You're originally from Kenya.
Yes.
And you immigrated here at a very young age.
Right.
Looking back to your early childhood, what were some of the moments maybe that you remember that kind of shaped you to be the Miriam that's sitting in front of me today?
I think growing up in a household with very principled parents, my parents were very principled and they were very intent in education, and you doing what it is that is in your heart, not just going with the wind or just peer pressure. I think they gave me such a foundation where I was able to find my passion early on. So I didn't have to, growing up as a child, it wasn't a guess game. The path was almost always there for me just because of growing up in that kind of household.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you was kind of politics always something that you
Yeah.
saw yourself getting into?
And not necessarily getting into, it was more, for some reason, I just had a passion. There was something about governance. There was something about politics and government for me. Even when I was young, I was the interesting kid who everybody's watching cartoon. I watch the news. Yeah,
That's a big sign right there, right?
yes.
Yeah.
And when my parents noticed, oh my God, something is different about this child. I remember even when they put a calendar with a map of Africa, and I just wanted to explore the presidents of those countries.
Yeah.
It was very interesting. So it's so my childhood really a lot of encouragement from my parents. Once they realized she has this passion, they just added more educational tools to help me even discover even more of what that's the path that I desired.
Of that passion. So they respected that path and they
Yes.
pushed you to it.
They pushed me to it and never pressured me to do anything else.
Wow.
The same way I would have answered, the same way I can answer my passion now is the same way I used to answer when I was little. So it's very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how much of a joy that is too, because when you have parents that are supportive,
Yes.
that do encourage that and not say, hey, maybe I wanted Miriam to be, a firefighter or a doctor or whatever like that, but she wants to go into politics.
Yes.
We were backing her 100%.
Right. And they noticed that there was an activist in me. And that's because my grandfather was also an activist.
In Kenya?
In Kenya. So he fought for Kenya's independence. So he was one of the men that fought in what we call the Mau Mau.
Wow.
So he was part of folks who were at the front of the resistance against the British colonialists. And it was so bad for him. He was even accused of, certain heinous acts were not true. He was arrested. A young man that was willing to die just for the cause of the country.
Yeah.
And so I think my mom, knowing that, when she started seeing that passion of wanting to fight for justice, she realized, I think this fell on, whatever was on my dad also fell on my daughter.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So your grandpa was one of the main inspirations.
One of the main inspirations. And not necessarily even, I wouldn't say inspiration because I didn't discover this until later. I'd say I discovered several years ago, I was on Google looking at the history of Kenya. Then I see a man that's incarcerated. I see a photo of a man incarcerated in a colonial jail sitting down. But the man looks like my grandfather. And I sent the picture. It was online. I said, Mom, is this your dad? She said, yeah, that's my dad.
It was.
And I started doing more research. And then I saw right before the 1952 uprising, they had those photos when he was arrested. They had photos when he was released. Then even the president, whoever became the president then was released. They were all arrested around the same time. And so when I saw that, I was like, oh my God. I started also understanding myself even more, right? Because my mom never told me those things before. Right. She just knew it and she just wanted me to discover myself.
Wow.
And then now when I found out I was like, oh my God, I see. Yeah.
Do you believe in coincidences in life?
No.
No?
I believe that everything happens for a reason. And I think that was the time. But I think it's because I struggled with wanting to run for office. I never wanted to. Because the negative photos, or let me say, the negative picture you kind of see from politicians a lot of times makes you wonder, can my family survive this, right? Can I raise a healthy family and being in this side of things? And that's why I focus on activism, because to me, running for office was never an option. Well, then I went to Washington, D.C. several years ago, and I spent time with one of the senior leaders in the Senate. And I saw a man who had served 39 years, several presidents, a perfectly healthy family, wife and children, and true and pure admiration from his family and love, and a marriage that was intact. And then I said, okay, I think I can do this. If he can do it.
If he can do it, then I can do it.
Yeah, I can do it. So I said, okay, at some point I am going to have to sacrifice and give myself for this cause. Because now we've gotten to a point where activism at this point, it works, but you need to be at the table. You need to be at the table to be able to make sure you're part of policy.
Yeah.
We can't just fight from the outside anymore. You have to be a part of it.
You got to.
You got to be a part of it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And part of that is coming onto podcasts.
Yes.
Going into the community.
Yes.
Doing all those things. We saw how that impacted the 2024 election too.
Absolutely.
We saw a lot of that.
Yes.
And I think that's the next step. Now, running for office here in the U.S. versus Kenya, that was never a thought for you? Was it always like, yeah, I want to do it when I'm in the U.S.?
Well, because I grew up here, I was born in Kenya, but we came here around when I was 6. Culturally, I'm American, right? By birth, I'm Kenyan. Culturally, I'm American. I don't know if you've ever traveled to a different country and noticed the difference of a culture, right?
Oh, yeah.
Culture shock. And also, I am a firm believer that leaders should lead from a place of lived experience. I think one of the reasons why we see politics fail in this country because a lot of leaders rule or lead from a place of privilege. You can't, and when you lead from a place of privilege, then you're leading from theory. I don't want you reading a book and then coming and testing what works and what doesn't work, right? So because I'm a firm believer of leading based on lived experience, I said, I have to run home because this is home for me, right?
Yeah.
And the issues that happen here are the ones that have impacted me. The issues that are impacting people in Kenya, they're not impacting me. I will still be leading there from a place of privilege because I've grown up in the West. And it's not fair to the residents there because I'm going to come up with ideas that are far from their reality. So running for office here, for me, is what makes sense because I am going through what everyday residents going through. I'll give you an example. I have a condo in Capitol Hill, and I grew tired of continuing to pay more HOA dues. Some people are tired of property taxes, right? And those are the ones that tend to fund our county government. Yeah. And as I work internally in King County, I became troubled because we keep asking for more as government, or the government keeps asking for more, but we're not seeing the results, right? When you look at the crisis of homelessness or the Regional Housing Authority right now, right? It's a huge scandal. They were missing $13 million, right? And so then you ask me for more money or for you to, for another levy, and you're still not taking care of that crisis in the way that I see that whatever tax dollar I'm giving to government is actually working. To me, that's an insult to a taxpayer. It's a slap in our face. Because all you keep doing is asking for more, but it's almost like the level of accountability is not there.
It's not there.
It's not there. And it's not fair to the residents. And the cost of living is is shooting up the roof. Yeah. Homes, young people, if you're graduating from college, forget owning a home, If you've even graduated, you have to choose, am I going to pay student loans or am I going to purchase a home? It shouldn't be like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I decided it was never a question whether I run in Kenya or here. It's here because I'm struggling, with the experiences that everybody's having experiences with here.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And kind of like on the topic of homes and cost of living too,
right.
A lot of Gen Z, a lot of my generation too, it is the AI too, even like entry-level jobs. Like how do I get entry-level jobs coming out of college?
Right.
With AI rising and stuff, how can I use AI to my advantage?
Right. And that's why for me also, even as a young person running for office, is to make sure that also AI, there's some ethics around that. Because I know those jobs, if they're transferred and it's AI that's doing them, so what are we going to do with a young population that's graduating from college? So are we going to keep having talent graduate from college and then move to other states instead of staying at home and helping bring improvements and changes within our community? Yeah.
That's a whole other thing.
Because I think that's the other part. A lot of people are not thinking about what are the ethics of AI, right? When Mark Zuckerberg just laid off all those staff members here in Seattle, it was like, okay, we need to start having regulation that if you have a company and it's here in the city of Seattle, it's in here in this neighborhood within King County, there's certain regulations that have to be in place on how many employees can you fire annually or every other few years. Because if you're going to do business in here, we need something like that. Yeah. So we have to protect our residents.
Right.
Yeah.
But you yourself, you're not against AI.
I'm not against AI. I do believe that we need to have ethics around it because we can't transfer our jobs to AI. Yeah. We need human contact, human centered jobs also that allows people to continue having jobs, because having jobs is super important to the economy of a state and county and the city. Yeah.
It is. Well, we're not going anywhere too, right?
Exactly.
We're all here,
Exactly.
Yeah, we may have more robots, but we're still going to be here.
Exactly.
You have seen King County through many lenses.
Yes.
And especially going up here and coming here from Kenya at such a young age. How has that, growing up here, obviously you've seen a lot of leadership changes, not just
Right.
on the presidential federal level, but also state and local level. How has growing up here changed the way you've seen public service and leadership, especially considering what we just talked about with 2020?
Yes. I think for me, I've been a student, I've been a resident growing up here, I've been now an employee, and I've just seen a lot of changes in terms of what do the leaders consider to be a priority and the changes that need to take place. When leaders run for office and then they sit in that office, I realize we've lost that government touch, right? We're a democratic nation. But I realize that it's almost like our government is no longer centered on the people. And one of the reasons why I'm running is to make sure that people are such an integral part of government. And we need to have the voice of the people back. When you think about the forefathers of this nation, there's something they always talked about, the tyranny of majority. And that was through the experience, obviously, back in England, where they felt they didn't have a voice. Whatever the Queen said is what was going to happen. Well, now we're having leaders that are running for office, right, where they're being funded by certain companies. So when people don't understand that when somebody's funded by or endorsed by certain organizations and companies, that means they're carrying their agenda, which means to serve you as a person, it will take a while. You're not a priority. No priority. And that's why you see a lot of candidates that are winning, especially in this year's elections, is because they're against the corporate money. They're against certain funding, because the more the people help raise those individual contributions, the more you are the focus for that candidate. And so for me as a candidate running, I'm hoping once I get elected that I am having a lot more town halls to have conversations with the people, to hear what the people want and to implement those changes according to what the people desire, because I am the representation of their voice. I'm not the elite dictating what should be changed in the society and the community that I live in. That's not governance, at least not in a democratic nation or democratic system.
Right.
Yeah.
When you consider the money aspect of it, and obviously, like, because me, like, I've hosted a lot of local businesses and local business owners in there.
Right.
Would there be, though, corporations or businesses or local businesses, like, I guess, how would you balance between supporting those kind of businesses without actually supporting maybe larger corporations that you're like, hey, I'm not trying to just take your money and just run with that?
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yes, it makes sense. I think with local businesses, we want to make sure that we're getting support from businesses that are within community and have the best interest for the community. If a business is detached from the community, I personally don't have much interest
to do with it,
because that's going to distract me from the passion. And to me, running for office is one, it's not a dream, it's not a goal, and it's not ambition. It's a need right now for me, the way I see it. When I looked at this race and I looked at who was in the race, I didn't feel that I had a candidate in the race that would be able to represent my interest in this seat, right? And so I would not want to partner or, get endorsement from anybody where my focus is not going to be the people. I want to make sure that within the 4 years, my focus will be about the people at all times. Yeah.
We hear the word the system a lot, and you've experienced it, both its successes as well as its failures. Walk us through some of the moments where you did feel like the system, and again, people talk about the system as a kind of like an abstract thing.
Yeah.
But what are some of the failures that maybe the system failed you in your life?
So I went through foster care at some point in my life. And, when you go through foster care, you are the child of the government in that system. And it's a system. I think it was my first major experience with the system. You're dealing with DSHS, state of Washington. And you look at a system that it's good and wants to help these young people be functional and be able to transition into adulthood well and be contributing members to society. But I just noticed the system sometimes, again, because a lot of things are done from a place of theory, it's a test, right? It's not for sure this is what we need to administer in this kind of situation. Also working for King County and watching, now I'm part of this system in terms of even just internally how things work, looking, for instance, at our the jail system, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how, as government, we have become so intent on punishing, but we don't redeem. And now, because of the homelessness crisis, we're realizing our lack of redemption is even more detrimental to everybody than maybe we may have thought, right? Because if I incarcerate you today and I don't give you a path of redemption to go back to be able to contribute back into society, you're not motivated to do much.
Right.
And it's not because you don't want to. That's because one strike and it's almost like your life turns upside down because now you're in the criminal legal system. You have a record. And if you're not redeemed, you become discouraged. Depression kicks in. After depression or any other mental health issue kicks in, drugs kick in, right? Because you need a way to cope. You're a human being.
Sure.
We are wired for survival, right? They kick in. And once drugs kick in, is housing going to be a priority to you?
Mm-mm.
Can you even secure a job?
Highly unlikely.
There you go. You end up in the streets.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, and when I went through foster care, when I aged out, I was homeless. So when
For how long?
I was homeless for a year or almost a year. And then when I went to SU, they gave me a full ride scholarship. So then I had housing for the next 4 years for free.
Yeah.
Because,
What a blessing.
Exactly. But if I didn't have that, I would have been homeless until I figured something out. And at that point, you're going through mental health struggles, right? Because foster care, it's traumatizing that you're not with your biological parents or your parents of, choice, let's say. Yeah.
Well, I guess like when it comes to the, I think a lot of Seattle residents, including my friends, are very frustrated with the homeless issue.
Exactly.
And so many issues that they do feel like the local representatives are not really getting to it.
Yes.
I mean, what would you do in your power, though, to actually tackle that? Like, is there something different? Would you work with those higher up than you to tackle that? What would you say about that?
This is one of the issues I'm running on, solving the homelessness crisis. And what we first need to do as government is deal with it from a root cause. What may work for one individual experiencing homelessness may not work for the other. So I break it in categories. We have veterans who have gone through PTSD, unfortunately, and they don't even know that we have resources to help, but also would love to enlarge the budget to make sure they have more resources in order for them, again, to go back into integrating back into society and contribute into society, making sure they have those resources. Then you have someone like me who went through foster care. Then you end up homeless, right? We need a program and system to help you, again, coming straight from foster care. We need to have a path for you to be able to integrate into society and transition, into adulthood without the burdens of mental health, and us providing those resources for you to be able to get to a point where you're healthy enough to explore other opportunities. King County already has what we call work source, right? It helps people find jobs. And so making sure all those resources are given to these young people as soon as you're transitioning, especially within King County, that data is already available with state of Washington. They can provide that data, and for us to be able to actively reach out to them. Then you have individuals that just can't afford. It's an affordability issue. And we have to increase the stock of affordable housing in different regions of the county.
Regions, yeah.
Yeah, and so especially in District 2 with gentrification, you realize a lot of individuals that, could not afford to stay and they had to move or became homeless because things just became too expensive for them, you know. And so then the issue of people being incarcerated, how do we get to a point where we can expunge some of those charges once you've already served and, you're due to society, and make sure that you can be able to have opportunities and you can be motivated. And again, you're able to integrate back into society. Yeah. It's about breaking it down and making sure that those resources are in place for for the individuals, depending on what led them to that point. And there is money for it. A lot of people don't know that King County has a $20 billion biannual budget.
For homeless?
No, just overall.
In general?
Yeah, that's a lot of money because...
So who can tap into that? Because I'm curious now.
Right. And let me break it down just a little bit. So $20 billion biannually. Then King County has, it has 39 cities and, of course, unincorporated areas. But those 39 cities have their own revenue. For instance, City of Seattle usually has its own budget of $9 billion. City of Kent, $73 million, meaning they're not really tapping into the $20 billion, right? King County also has a little bit of a 2.2 million population. So if the cities are not having to tap into that, and you have that much money, you have 2.2 million folks in population, then what are we doing with the
What are
$20
we doing
billion?
with it? Yeah, yeah.
And so that's where now I come in as a leader to make sure that part of that $20 billion is being allocated in a way we're able to see results in tackling this homelessness crisis that we have at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Miriam, it's 2026.
Mhm.
It's July.
Yeah.
We're already more than halfway through the year. I feel like we live in such a polarizing. It's not even just what I feel.
Mhm.
I know we live in a very polarizing society right now, where everyone tends to first identify either with their political party, say, "Hey, who'd you vote for? What party you stand? Which party line are you on?" and whatever.
Yeah.
When you think about your campaign, how does your campaign kind of aim to bring that temperature down, and not really make it about whether you're Democrat, Republican, whatever you may be in between, whatever it is, but really say, hey, no, first, let's bring the temperature down and let's really look at what actually matters.
Absolutely. The beauty of my race is it's nonpartisan. So you don't have to be Republican or Democrat. So you don't have to be Republican or Democrat, right? That's the beauty of this race. But I do hope to build a trajectory from it anyways, in that people need to stop focusing on labels, political parties, because it's to their detriment. You need to focus on what works. If a candidate is not suggesting and is not giving you ideas and is not dialoguing on what works, that's not a candidate for you. Put your self-interest first as a person so that leaders can learn to also put you first in their leading. One thing I realize with political leaders, they use people during campaign season. They say all the right things, but they're not giving you anything, And I'll give you an example. When I started running, so this is what people don't know happens when you start running for office. You meet with consultants. They're quote unquote experts on running candidates to win. It doesn't matter what the substance is. It doesn't matter what they can deliver. They want to be able to tell a story. They say, if you can tell a story, you can win. What an insult to the taxpayer and the voter, right? And that's why I tell people, stop buying the rhetoric. Can that person I had to give you my plan on homelessness, right? Can that person give you a plan on what they're going to do, exactly how they're going to do it, and what their approach is going to be? And can you go back and forth in a dialogue on how that's going to impact and bring changes to your everyday life?
Right.
Most people don't care about that. They just hear good stories. They're like, oh my God, that's my candidate. No, you can't do that anymore. Yeah. So that's why you see the gas prices go high and I can't drive. I have to take the public transportation. Those are the consequences of being emotionally led when you're dealing with political candidates. And so I would advise everybody, because that's what I do. I've always done that. I don't go with a party and I don't go with the rhetoric. Sure. I really look, can this person do, is there genuineness? Is there authenticity? Right? Because politicians, again, you work with these consultants. I know for me, I had several consulting companies say, the vision you have for the district, we can't run you on it. It's to this, it's to that. I said, listen, if I can't run on exactly what the issues are, I'm not interested in running. I'm not here to make a political career. I am here to actually see a change takes place because I'm being affected. And it's not just me, my neighbors are being affected. That's why I ran for District 2C, know? Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is there a part of you, though, obviously, because the emotion does matter, and people tend to feel like the political figures, they all have their talking points,
right?
Their talking heads.
Right.
Do you have some of those for yourself that obviously will, because you have a story, though, in itself, coming from Kenya.
But not a fake story. So that I can get votes.
So that's the difference right there.
That's the difference, yes.
Right.
It's a genuine story.
It's a genuine story.
It's part of who I am. I can't fake it. I can't pretend. It's everywhere, Yeah.
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 And it's like real emotion.
It's real. It's genuine.
That back it,
Exactly. Yeah. It's not something that I've put together so that I can psychologically manipulate emotions. No. That's just who I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just who you are.
Exactly.
So what people are seeing right now is Miriam.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
When you think about your kind of like some of the strongest reasons why people should vote for you, this is kind of like a little pitch moment right now.
Yes.
What are some of the biggest reasons? Is it more your story? Is it more your conviction and belief in the action behind it? What are some of the strongest reasons why someone should vote for you today?
One, I'm the only candidate in this race that's a non-career politician, right? So for me, I'm telling you, even in other elections, I'm not voting for a career politician because that's a career. So somebody would do just about anything to climb that ladder, right? I would say one of the biggest reasons why people should vote for me is my experience in King County internally for the last 7 years. I have worked in several departments, divisions, so I started on the bottom. So I know exactly, but especially budget-wise, how the county operates. And right now, we need somebody that can bring a balance to the rest of the council members in how we should approach budgeting within the county to make sure that $20 billion biannual budget is not just being put out there to be spent because it needs to be spent, but it's being put exactly where residents feel there's a need.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and also being able to make sure that there's no wastage. A lot of wastage does happen internally. I'm the only candidate that knows that.
Mm-hmm.
And knows exactly which areas we need to reallocate some of those funds.
Yeah.
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 That's big.
I've been involved in hiring, the FTEs, and I think some of the jobs that are even there can be reduced to just one position instead of
position.
6. Yeah, that's a waste of money, and it's an insult to the taxpayer. Yeah.
Why do you think that is? Why are there so many countless positions and?
Because it's money and nobody's asking questions.
Yeah.
Right. So when you have someone like me in King County Council, I'm like, listen, I already know how it goes internally.
Yeah.
So no, you can only have one position, not 6. This is a taxpayer at home who can't afford food, hardly afford their mortgage or even rent. No, we cannot do that.
Right.
And great oversight and accountability. Yeah.
Because you've been behind the curtain, you've seen it,
everything,
and so
everything.
I think that's where that experience really matters.
Exactly, and of course, other than that, I'm a political scientist by training, and when you're a political scientist, or at least my type is focused on systems and how systems can become better and how they function. One of the things I noticed within our government system locally, there's a lot of systemic racism. Well, somebody would say, well, what does that have to do with you serving the residents? Well, if there's systemic racism, you have to understand there are type of leaders that cannot be able to climb that ladder within the county to where they're able to impact what kind of services are offered, even to the neighborhoods where they're often overlooked.
Yeah.
Again, going back to leading from a place of lived experience, I believe there's certain positions where you need somebody to lead from a place of lived experience. For example, in the Office of Gun Violence, do you want somebody that has never had that experience, lived around that, to understand how do we target this? How do we deal with this? Right? I'll give you an example. One of the leaders that I think has done such a great job in reducing crime in this nation is Mayor Brendan in Maryland, right? And what did he use? He used the system of taking the individuals who were involved in crime and incorporating them into the system of helping stop crime, because they're leading from a place of lived experience. But if he just allowed Baltimore police to deal with it, they're leading from a place of theory because he just got hired to keep peace, but based on what you've been taught.
Wow.
This person is not only what they've been taught, but also the experience.
Because they've been on the other side.
And they know how to get into conversations and dialogue with gang members, right? We know gangs have been huge historically in Baltimore. And so they know how to engage. They know how to bring that ceasefire. I grew up in the hood, so and I understand the importance of ceasefire when it comes to gang-related activities, and they've done that. And for the first time in 50 years, even the homicides have really gone down in Baltimore.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a new type of leadership. I've never heard that.
Exactly, and those are the kind of ideas that I want us to have within King County, because they work and they produce results.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this district, for myself, I grew up in Skyway, so I've seen what gun violence has done, especially in District 2. And I want us, again, to be able to have that similar system and engage the young people. I really want to see a partnership, even with local businesses, where young people are not just going home right after school. They have other activities that they engaged in, an internship where they get a stipend, something to make them feel motivated. If we don't do that and mommy has 3 jobs, when they get home, mommy's not there, they're going to look for other activities. They're human. They're looking for other activities to be involved in. And a lot of these, especially our young men, they find affirmation sometimes in those gang-related activities. Yeah.
An idle mind, brings trouble.
And let me tell you, from my experience, my biological dad, was always incarcerated, I think until very few years before he died, because he didn't have certain opportunities. So he ended up getting involved in, again, that gang lifestyle, doing all kinds of things. And unfortunately, he never gained a positive trajectory of life 100% until a few years before his death.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm a daughter of, of somebody who, and a daughter of a teen mom also, right? Because if they didn't have anything to occupy them, then
Then they dive into trouble.
There you
and,
go.
and those kind of things. Yeah.
Exactly.
And I mean, even me growing up too,
Mhm.
South Seattle, Yesler Terrace.
Yeah.
That was my neighborhood.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I was able to stay away with it because I had great parents. And then I was also involved in those after school activities
Right.
that kept me
Yes.
busy.
Yeah.
So it's
And that's what I want to target, because it's heartbreaking. Especially, I don't know if you heard the story of the two young men that were shot at a bus stop at Rainier.
recently.
I think several months ago. Yeah. Wow. Two young men just like that. And and if you grew up in the hood, you know exactly what that is.
That's terrible.
And so when our leaders are talking about zero youth detention, I'm like, stop making it a talking point. We need to invest in these young people. We need to invest in them. Yeah. We need to focus on preventing more than we need to start, keep saying, hey, zero youth detention. It's not going to happen if we don't put in those dollars where they need to go so that these young people can have a brighter future. Because they're young, and we have an opportunity to guide them and to show them the way through those opportunities and resources.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Appreciate you and giving that message. Yeah. That gives me and a lot of the younger generation that's listening to this a lot of hope. So I appreciate that. And what a way to transition to the last question too. We're at the deep end point of the podcast. And the question is the advice question, and the advice to the younger generation, Miriam. So we've talked about a lot specifically for those that are coming from underserved communities, immigrant families, those people that want to have a big impact in life. The younger generation, what advice would you give to those people?
I would say stay involved, civically involved. I'm telling you, and I don't know if this is a prophecy, but I can just tell you, I pay attention to how politics are working worldwide. And for instance, right now, we know we have what we call globalization, meaning all the countries are interconnected. The economies of the world are not interconnected, right? When gas prices are high here, gas prices are going to be high in Kenya because of that interconnectedness. And so pay attention to what's happening in governments, because it may not affect you now, but at some point it will. Please treasure your vote. Treasure your vote. When I go into the African diaspora communities, I realize, especially those who have immigrated, especially first generation, they don't integrate into the American system. And I'm telling them, you can still have your culture and still be part of this system, because you need to show the way to your children. There's no way your children are going to be able to be successful in this country if you are not showing them that this is home. It is okay that maybe you have home in Ethiopia, Eritrea, and Kenya, but this is home. So prioritize being civically engaged, and prioritize making sure that you have voices that are elected that can speak to your experience, right? The reason why a lot of times it matters why the racial background of a person that's elected into certain positions is because that's the only person that from lived experience, they can speak to that experience, right? And they can shed light to where maybe what has always existed tends to overlook what exists in that particular community.
Right.
And again, it goes back to that leadership based on lived experience. So if we can diversify that within different bodies of government where everybody can speak to the experience of a different community, that's leadership, right? Then that's the beauty of diversity. Then find a bigger goal within that diversity that exists within that body of leadership.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and find a common ground, because it's for the better of humanity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're more similar than not.
Exactly.
Because we're all human, and I think just shout out to the World Cup.
Yes.
That's done that.
Yes.
I've gone to the watch parties. Roby knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
I'm meeting Brazilians, Japanese, Taiwan people. I'm dancing with everybody, meeting people, and it's just like the whole world is just fused together.
Beautiful.
And we're all just like, wait,
Beautiful.
what's going on? We all like each other.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
I heard otherwise maybe on the media or something, but it's a beautiful world out there, really.
Exactly. And actually, so when I was not busy running for office or when I started this journey, what I did, I traveled around the world solo. The last time,
How many countries?
God, I don't know how many. I'd have to look at my passport. But the last time I went to, I think, 5 countries. I was in Sweden, Estonia, Denmark, Finland, and Latvia.
Wow.
And I do that solo because it challenges me to integrate and to learn and be very wise. And it was very interesting. Yeah. And like you said, we are so much similar than we are not. They're not. Yeah. Yeah. And there's so much beauty just being around different language, right? Because some of these countries, I don't speak Dutch, for instance, but the warmth, the human warmth,
though,
it's just so beautiful. You hear a lot of people say, don't go to Europe as a Black person, they're racist. I'm here to dispel that myth. Maybe not. So I just don't want you to have fear. Maybe in some cases there may be. I've never had that experience. I do go there often, and I find love. So much love that I get in those countries.
And that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, like, so much love.
It's not discrediting that person's certain experience.
Right.
But, you know, when you hear that only and you don't actually go there,
you get scared.
Then now you have a painted picture of
there you go.
Europe is bad or whatever.
There you go.
So,
but you realize the world it may be different in some aspects, but at the end of the day, we are all looking for the same things.
Certainly.
Love, respect, those are universal. They don't change no matter where you are. Yeah. Yeah. And they open your eyes, you know?
Sure
I think for me, I think for me to be an effective leader, I need that kind of diversity and exposure, right? Because I'm not just here to lead Black people. I'm here to lead everybody. And King County is one of the most diverse counties in the country, the 12th largest. So,
wow.
Yeah.
I believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Miriam, that we are at the end. If you want to just look at the camera and plug away where people can connect with you and find you.
Awesome. Yeah, so I'm super excited. I want to be here, Emirs. Thank you, my brother. And you all can connect with me on social media. Elect Miriam on TikTok, Elect Miriam Facebook, Elect Miriam Instagram. And we do also have a campaign website where you can learn more of my story at electmiriam.com. That has all the details on the issues that I'm running on, exactly the approach that I'm going to have. And super excited to just engage this electorate and making sure that I'm going to be a voice for each and every single person in this district without any bias. So thank you.
There we go. Y'all heard her. Miriam, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, my brother.
You have a very busy schedule, so thank you for making time of this.
Thank you.
And I hope everyone enjoyed this awesome episode. Listen, everyone, tap into all the links and descriptions in there. We're going to have all of Miriam's links. We're going to have my links as well. So go support it. Give this video a like and share this video with someone that you think could benefit this video to get Miriam's campaign and message out there. And until the very next episode, y'all, peace.